I picked the noisiest time of the day. It's during lunchtime to record this, so I apologize for all the cars and everything. I don't have fancy equipment doing this, and I didn't want to wait to start my YouTube until I had it. Do you like my new hairdo? That's not what the video is today about. But just come with me to go get a matcha latte at like one of my favorite local cafes while I answer some of your most frequently asked questions that I get on pretty much like Instagram and TikTok. I haven't really gotten too many questions on YouTube other than some negative ones, but we'll see. I also need to go to the post office. I'm not sure if you can see my outfit of the day or not. And my room is how it is, but I need to go to the post office to check my P.O. box. What do you even do for work? And the short answer, well, I guess I'll give you the long answer. So my background is in advertising and marketing. I've been doing it, wow, I guess for 10 years now. And with that, I would say I specialize mainly in branding and content creation. Hold on, my bad. Someone was like spam calling me and I'm on my phone right now. So branding, content creation, storytelling. When I worked at an advertising agency, I was mainly someone who was dealing with like client relations. A lot of my clients were in the tech industry, so like the Fortune 500 companies and like all that fun stuff. I got to work closely with a lot of web designers, developers, graphic designers, photographers, like you name it. So I was exposed to so many different elements of marketing. And it's funny because when I initially chose marketing, my parents were like, what is that? Like, how are you gonna make money? Like, you need to go in the medical field. And now they're like, oh, you haven't asked us for money, or you've been doing well on your own, so it must be working, right? And I'm like, sure. Yeah. I'll film a video basically on how I got to where I am today, but it's kind of a long story and a good one. I like to say I appreciate all the challenges and trials and tribulations and everything that got me here today. I will say that right now I am a part-time content creator, which for me, that means I work with some brands, usually user-generated content. There are sometimes, well, with user-generated content, that means like I create something specifically that they want, and I don't really have too much of creative freedom, I would say, to create certain things. But I do get to do things that I enjoy. Usually it involves me going outdoors in some sort. The other part to what I do is influencing. And I would say for me, influencing, as someone who's easily influenced, I mainly just share like my story, and I've made great connections with people and learning more about myself through that. And I sometimes get paid to do that as well. I have a few partnerships coming up that I'm excited about. It's going to be a really fun summer, and I'm very grateful that you're all here. So, and then on top of that, I wear many hats, but I also do freelance marketing, usually for some small businesses, some large as of late recently, and just helping them with their overall branding and awareness. And I'm just very grateful that I can still dip my toes a little bit more in marketing type stuff that's outside of content creation and influencing, just so I can stay not necessarily ahead, but just keep my eyes open to what's the latest and the greatest. I'm also going on I guess I can say kind of like a retreat sort of situation, and I'm really excited about that and to really expand on content creation and storytelling so I can get better at it and continue to grow. But that's pretty much what I do. My other hand was getting a little tired. But so another question that I commonly get asked is, aren't you afraid to be out there all by yourself? You know, aren't you afraid to solo travel? Aren't you scared? And honestly, there are moments where I feel like I am, but for the most part, no. And usually the fear stems from others trying to project their fear onto me. So those who wouldn't solo travel or are too afraid to. And the forms of solo travel that I enjoy the most are camping and by plane. I want to get into like train type stuff, like getting on a train, so that looks so much fun. So pretty much most of it. I've traveled so far internationally and domestically. And to be honest, I enjoy traveling more internationally than I do domestically because there are still some places, one sec, still some places domestically that are not safe to travel, especially for brown people like me, which is another topic I'd love to touch on. Like, there are just some states where I won't ever travel to alone, and honestly, probably not ever because of just, just the blatant racism and just, people not being welcoming to others. So I probably won't ever do that. But in short, I am not afraid to do it. I was honestly sort of forced into doing it. It was either like wait for someone to go with me or not go because someone or people bailed on me, which has happened so many times in my life so far. And I just had to ask myself, is that like the life that I want to live? Do I want to wait for others constantly? I do enjoy group travel. I do love spending time with my friends. It's like one of my love languages. But at the same time, like, I can't always wait for them. I can't always wait for family. I can't always wait for people to take it seriously or whatever the case may be, because everyone is different. Everyone has like their own things that they're going through, everything like that. It's funny because like I really don't want to edit that out. I'll touch more on why I think everyone should at least attempt solo traveling at least once in their life, just to see what it's like before you immediately say like, oh, it's scary, it's dangerous. I think taking too many measures when you're solo traveling almost puts out into the universe that danger is likely to happen, danger is going to happen, versus you just trusting yourself and your intuition. Because in moments of fight or flight, let's say you have a weapon of choice or something, you could accidentally hurt yourself when the adrenaline is going and you're afraid or whatever. So it's really just holding your ground, setting boundaries, standing up for yourself. So I am not afraid of solo traveling. I get a lot of questions about equipment whenever I post something and it's not directly like a gear review or anything. But I mean, there's so many questions about certain things that I use and how I go about using them, how I discover to use them. So instead, I want to say that before I bought anything, especially when it's outdoor gear, even if it's not outdoor gear, I like to try to test things before I actually get them. I'm personally not the best when it comes to reading reviews. I try to like make my own review and get my own perception of it. Even though there's sometimes where it's some reviews or whatever, it's like, okay, like, yeah, like this makes sense. This is very thorough. Like, I trust this, response. But at the same time, especially when it comes to outdoor gear, I remember going my first solo camping trip and I used Outdoorsy. This is not sponsored or anything. But with them, it was kind of cool because I got to rent certain gear with the car that I rented crossing the street. Damn influencers, man, crossing the street and using their phones in their hands. But sorry, that's just my life. Oh, we got like, well, everything is just so loud. Sorry, hold on. Through Outdoorsy, I got to rent the gear from the owner of the car. Like, I got to rent a cooler, camping stove, lights, like a whole bunch of things. So it was just kind of nice just to rent those, especially the items that are more higher price before I decide to buy them. And even through that, you can easily, still continue to rent or thrift certain things depending on like what you want to do. So you don't necessarily need to jump in completely. I also made a video recently talking about how you don't need to invest, like spend so much money to start hobbies that you want to start. So if there's something you want to start now, you don't necessarily need to spend a ton of money to start to do it. You can literally just do it. Like, I just took up running and I don't have a vest or anything like that. So you can just do it now if you want. Mint matcha latte, if you know, you know. No mail in the post office, which is totally fine. I was hoping to rest my arm a little bit, but it's okay. Arm day. Anyways, another common question that I get asked is just how do I find the places that I find to stay at? And if you're new here, usually some of the places that I find, I try to find like unique places to stay that sort of just push me out of my comfort zone. And they usually have like special features like an outdoor shower or special hiking trails nearby. It's a tiny home, a cute cabin, whatever you name it. And I like to stay at those places. For me, I usually find them on a few different places. This isn't sponsored or anything, but just like apps that I've used. The first thing I use is Instagram. So it's the whole topic of G keeping, which is like one of my trigger words. Whenever I see it, I feel like I always have to respond to something, even though I don't want to. I literally just go on Instagram and I just get targeted with it. I try to look up different states or cities that I want to visit, and usually that also helps me too. Like if I'm solo traveling, like I try to find like a reason why I'm going and to see this thing or to attend that concert or do whatever. So if you're new to solo traveling or want to get into it, I highly recommend doing something like that. Outside of Instagram, I like to go camping and things like that. So I'll use like recreation.gov and to find kind of cool spots to be at. I like to do the whole like, what is it? The cowboy shower or whatever it's called. I forgot what it's called, but I like finding places that have like large body of water that you are permitted to jump into and have fun. So I like to go through that. I've used Hipcamp in the past, like I said before, outdoorsy, and I want to start to get into like just looking at state parks because I heard like one like better price, two closer to home, and so I just want to like look into that and as far as like finding places to be and go. And it's kind of cool too because also on Instagram like there have been a few places I've stayed at where they have like their own like it's like a I consider them to be like a small business. Like they have their own Instagram, they have their own website, and you can book directly through the host, opposed to like an Airbnb or something. And no shade on Airbnb because I will be using that. I have used it in the past. And those are just like how I find the places I do find. I just try to keep an open mind. I only really stay in hotels if it's like with family or something and it's like the last resort. But I try not to just because I don't really like hotels that much. And I also personally just have like a hard time sleeping in places that are like not my bed. So I immediately regret not bringing my tripod, but I just kind of wanted to go with the flow. I wish I could show you this view. It's a beautiful spring day and just like everyone's out and sometimes when the warmer weather happens though, it makes me feel like I need to be doing something, get out. But honestly, just being able to just sit back and relax, like, and taking time away, from being inside because I do work from home, but sometimes my work I have to stay inside or find somewhere with Wi-Fi. It's not always outside or fun places. So tips on how to get started outdoors. It's usually kind of like a common question that I get in some way, shape, or form. And sometimes it's usually just straight up like, how did you learn to get outside and do all these different things? Oh, I would say the short version to that question is just, well, I feel like everything is kind of a long version because if you haven't been able to tell by now, I'm kind of a yapper. But I would say the short version is just back when everything just kind of like shut down and you didn't really have anything to go or do or places to see. It was almost like the only thing you could do was just like go for a walk or, just really get to know your neighborhood and things like that. So for me, that's pretty much how I got started. Was just walking around my neighborhood and, that's how I started to meet my neighbors, which is kind of funny and that's like another story. And through that and just like getting to know my environment, that was like the only place I can escape to. It was just to get outdoors and get outside. And something about me too is just like how I got started in general, which is like my Instagram. It used to be a food page because I am a big foodie. That's something else that a lot of people don't know about me. Like I love food. I love supporting local businesses. I love going to local eats. Like that is just like my thing. And when I would go find like a new place to go eat at or something, like I would always look at, oh, nature near me or things to see near me. And it would always be like a hike. So that's kind of just how I got started in the outdoors. And I would just say find something that you genuinely like to do, but just add nature to that. So if you're like, oh, I'd like to go to the bookstores or, go do whatever. Oh, my mom's calling. So many distractions, like when I was talking to you all, and I would apologize for it, but it's not really my fault. It's just something that happens. But I'm going to head back home now. And I think I'll answer like one or two more questions. So we'll see. I was trying to make my own little tripod situation without giving away too much of where I am, but I don't know. So pretty much another big question that I get is just, how do you travel so much? It looks like you're always on an adventure, you're always doing something. This is a very loaded question, and I have a few different answers to it, so just buckle up. First things first, some of the travels that I've gone on, and I noted that, like, I was gifted the stay, so that helped me to afford to be able to go get there, however that may be, whether it's by my car or by plane or whatever the situation may be. So that helped a lot. Something else about me too that I've just noticed, I don't really travel from the months from December to March very much, and sometimes even April. So it's like a huge chunk of time that I spend either planning future travels, and I do spend money for future travels, but I don't really do too much during those months. And I think it's mainly just me and just like my personality. I am pretty good at saving my money and putting money away towards future travels that I want to do. There's a car coming on. I'm currently working on budgeting, and that's just kind of like my biggest thing because I have some recent shifts and changes in my life, and I need to figure out more and focus more on my budget. So I'm learning to do that very well. I mean, I'm pretty good at just guesstimating certain things too, like at the grocery store, like how much my groceries are going to be. I don't know how I do that without totaling everything up. When I am traveling, I try to find ways to save. So let's say I'm staying somewhere that doesn't have like a full kitchen or something like that. Like I'll usually try to bring my camping stove if I can, or I'll pack sandwiches so I can like easily do smaller type meals. That's not going to say that I don't like to travel how I want to travel, because sometimes I like to travel to experience new foods and try different things. It was getting way too loud over there, so I had to come back over here. But other ways that help me to travel more often is I don't necessarily need to stay at like a 5 or 4 star hotel and resort. I usually try to book places that are under $200 a night, especially if I'm going by myself, especially if there are other things I want to do, like other excursions or just fun things. I also think any form of travel can cost money and add up. Like some people say, like, oh yeah, camping, like it helps, save money, but you still have to think about gas getting there, food, if you're paying for the night there or not, and just all these different things, equipment, and that adds up over time. So I don't really know if there's any one best way that I found personally that saves a ton of money while traveling. Whew. I just got back home. I don't know why. It's just like when the sun is out and it's warmer, doing normal walks and things like that, I feel like it takes time to adjust compared to transitioning out the winter into spring and things like that. So, but yeah, those are pretty much my top questions that I've had so far. If you have any questions, like please leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. In the meantime, I hope your week, your day, your month, your year goes how you want. And thanks for being here in the YouTubes, and comment, like, share, subscribe. I'd still feel weird saying that. Do what you want, but you can do that if you want to. Thanks for being here. I'm totally filming you. Woo!